Today I wanted to talk about nature and nurture and my father. So this is part of nature, and my adventuring spirit is from nurture, both from my father. My father, as a child, when he was only about 3 in 1930, he was told to wait on the steps because his grandfather would come around, the only fellow that had a car, to bring him and his sister to camp. So he'd be told to, wait right there, Charlie. And of course, after a few minutes, adventure awaited, and there is no way he was going to stay there. So he left. He'd wander off, explore. When his grandfather arrived, everyone would be shook up trying to find him, and they would discover he was down by the McIntyre River at 3, having a good time, exploring, adventuring. He would be scolded, or worse, but that did not stop him. That could not snuff out his adventuring spirit. It was my father's attitude and his enthusiasm that I inherited. Or maybe it was contagious and I caught it. He had the idea that you could have an adventure anywhere, and he made sure that happened. This photograph was taken at work. Thought it would be kind of fun to make a boat out of a bit of plywood in a puddle. Anywhere, anytime. And depending how much time you had would depend how grand the adventure. If he had a whole day, he'd go to Silver Islet. If he had a few hours, maybe Slate River. If he only had 45 minutes, probably Boulevard Lake, near our family home. He'd be out photographing or just enjoying nature. If he was in the house, that was no excuse. You can still have an adventure in your house. He would go to the kitchen, take the tray of cutlery and dump it on the floor in the living room. Proceed to take photographs of the designs and the reflections, the lines. When I was a toddler, he would take the clothes pegs and dump them on the floor, and we'd play a game. I think he was probably in charge of taking care of me at that point in the day. And my job was to pick up the clothespins, to go on the chair, and to try to get them in the huge bucket. And while I did that, my father photographed me. So we were both having our own adventures. Adventure was something that made us both thrive, made us both feel very much alive. For my father, it was outside. Outside in nature was his place. It really didn't matter the weather. That was no excuse either. Because whether it was misty or frosty, whether it was raining or snowing or hot or cold, those were things that enhanced the experience. The diversity, the change. And it also enhanced the photograph without using Photoshop, because back then there was no Photoshop. When we had a family road trip, we'd go from Thunder Bay West or Thunder Bay East. Now this is typically 3.5 hour trip, and we'd go tent trailering, so another adventure, of course. He loved the process. He loved the journey. And that 3-day trip could easily turn into a week. For my dad, he was happy as long as he had the time to explore and discover, to appreciate as we made our way. It was my father who taught me that no matter the weather, no matter where you are or how much time you have, if you have the intention and the enthusiasm, then you can explore and have an adventure.